Imagine being so powerful that the sun literally never sets on your empire, yet so helpless in your final days that even the maggots feast on your rotting flesh. This is the haunting end of King Philip II of Spain. He ruled one of the largest empires in human history, and he died in agony, imprisoned not by enemies or traitors, but by his own body. Let us unravel the chilling true story of how Spain's most powerful king was devoured alive, slowly. In the mid-16th century, Philip II sat atop the throne of the Spanish Empire, an empire so vast they said the sun never set on it. Born in 1527, Philip was the son of Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, and inherited lands across Europe and the Americas. He was a man of contradictions, deeply religious but ruthless, soft-spoken but feared. He launched the Spanish Armada against England, governed through bureaucracy and paperwork, and believed he was carrying out God's divine will on earth. But while his empire grew, Philip's health began to rot from the inside. By the 1590s, Philip was a shell of the vigorous monarch he once was. Years of stress, inbreeding in royal bloodlines, and painful illnesses had taken a horrifying toll. But one condition in particular would become his final torment: severe gout, an excruciating type of arthritis. It did not just affect his toes. It spread, crippling his hands, knees, and eventually his entire body. Philip's legs swelled grotesquely. Open sores began to appear. Doctors of the time tried everything: leeches, poultices, prayers, but his condition worsened. Soon, his body began to rot while he was still alive. He developed what we now believe was chronic septicemia, a blood infection. His ulcers grew deeper. Flesh began to die. And here is where it gets horrifying. Maggots, yes, actual maggots, began infesting his wounds, feeding on the necrotic tissue. Philip knew. He could smell it. He could feel them. And he could not stop it. Philip was confined to his bed in the gloomy palace of El Escorial, a building he had designed himself to reflect solemn devotion and grandeur. Now it became his tomb. For 53 days, he lay dying, bedridden, motionless. Every move sent lightning bolts of pain through his joints. The stench in his room was unbearable. Servants had to sprinkle vinegar and herbs just to tolerate the atmosphere. But Philip, ever devout, refused to be sedated. He wanted to suffer, believing his agony was divine punishment, atonement for his sins. He spent his final days listening to Mass, clutching a crucifix and praying for redemption. He once asked a priest, "Do you think God will forgive a king who has made war for him?" On September 13th, 1598, after weeks of agony, Philip II finally died. At 71, he had reigned for 42 years, but his death felt longer. When the physicians examined his body, they were horrified. The flesh had decayed. His limbs were blackened and swollen. Wounds were infested with maggots. An infection had spread through every inch of him. And yet, even as his body fell apart, Philip clung to his Catholic faith. To him, pain was not a curse, it was purification. But to those who saw him suffer, it was a grotesque tragedy. The most powerful man in the world had died like a prisoner in his own skin.